For 400 bucks, you can buy a tower that pops 3 balloons and shoots roughly twice every second. And it takes off a layer per shot, which makes it relatively decent at dealing with early game group balloons. For the right side, you can buy 9 engineers. For the cheap price of 450 monkey money, you can make the engineer into a spike bolt pre-buff, letting it hit up to 8 balloons with a single nail. Truth be told, the rest of the right side is garbage. It's not that the upgrades are expensive or anything, but they actually make the tower worse in most situations, compared to just buying another engineer and upgrading that one instead. If you want more range, then you can buy another engineer for cheaper. If you want to buy sprockets, then you should know that it makes your sentry guns fire every 0.39 seconds. The same sentries that hit 2 balloons per shot and deal a single layer of damage. Truthfully, I think the overclock is pretty cool. And it's definitely something I want to talk about at some point after experimenting a bit more with it. But for the price, and after the removal of MIB and overclock stacking, I don't think it's really worth mentioning, since it is quite expensive and does not help you a lot in the late game, where you will be mostly defending with a lot of towers instead of one strong one. The left side is pretty cool, I think. You can build these sentry guns and they automatically aim at enemies for you, which I think is pretty neat. I don't think faster engineering is that worth it, but the rest of the upgrades are pretty good. For a while there has been this myth or idea going around that if the Bloon Trap spawns on top of cleansing foam, then the Bloon Trap can hit an infinite amount of camo. This is not true, but it's not entirely wrong either. See, there are 2 types of collision in this game, and those are once and continual. Continual is only for the track items, for the most part, whether that be dealing a single damage for the road spikes or gluing a balloon for the monkey glues and acids. It does its task 30 times per second, and as far as you should be concerned, this hits a target continuously. The difference between cleansing foam, road spikes, and the glues is that the latter 2 function properly. Glue can't hit things that are already glued, so it hits non-glued balloons that collide with it without issue. Road spikes deal 1 damage to anything colliding with it, up to a maximum of 30 times before the pile will eventually run out. Cleansing foam doesn't deal damage, and every balloon is immune to its effect. However, unlike the glue or the acid, it still tries to hit balloons that have already been stripped from their camo, which burns up its uses. This is why you sometimes have your entire pile of foam cleaned out by only a couple of camo balloons. The way to counteract this is to make the Bloon Trap spawn on top of the cleansing foam, or as close to it as possible, which I think is where the idea came from, that if the trap were to spawn on top of cleansing foam, then the Bloon Trap could detect an infinite amount of camo balloons. Even though it obviously doesn't hit an infinite amount of camo balloons, I think this is still the way to go, since you waste less of your precious foam, and it will allow your Bloon Trap to hit as many balloons as possible. For months, people have been complaining about the Bloon Trap, and although pretty much unaltered and even nerfed since Ninja Farm NG began to see play on some of the more noteworthy channels, it's really been turned up to 11 now. The most recent complaint about the Bloon Trap is that the increased price and less money from collecting the trap still isn't enough. Blah 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 blah. We all know what really is the case, and I'll say it myself, and that is that the Bloon Trap makes more money compared to farming. And I actually have proof that this is the case, since when you purchase a Bloon Trap on round 10, which is the round I chose because that's when lets can be sent out, and if you're playing Ninja Farm NG, you need let defense, you put down $5,800 as an investment. And obviously it's an investment because it's going to generate you money. So this is just me while editing, and I realized that I actually didn't properly explain how the spreadsheet is built up. But basically, the chart in gray is every single balloon that comes out per round, and then taking the RBU value from that, which I think is properly explained. And then basically you have the engineer cost as well as the banana farm cost offset to each other, and then comparing how much they generate per round, and that's how the graph came out. From round 10 and onwards, the AI will feed your Bloon Trap without your opponent doing anything. Assuming that your opponent doesn't send you a single Bloon, your Bloon Trap will pay itself back in 7 rounds, barring a margin of error due to late picking up of the Bloon Trap or Sentry guns popping some of the AI, which is offset by your opponent sending any kind of rush. 2 plantations cost $6,200 and will generate 840 every round, so they too will take about 7.5, 8 rounds to pay themselves back in full. However, the Bloon Trap will start making more money compared to these farms past round 17, due to the increase of RBE from ceramic balloons. Meaning that in the end, the Bloon Trap will give you more money per invested dollar, as well as help with defending against the AI. So this might be the easiest part of the entire video, since that if we assume that our second tower will be the farm, it leaves a single slot for another tower that can choose excluding randomized forests. We can just eliminate towers from that point on, so I say we just go through that. To pair with engineer and farm, we are looking for a tower with good camo detection, good ZOMG popping power, but most importantly we need towers that have amazing cleanup, which leaves our 3 main towers that we pair with the engineer, and luckily for us, they all have their own niche. Buccaneer with engineer ensures you have excellent farms up until the very end of the game, but also does great at defending against balloon adjustment on a map like Shallow River, on a map like Inlets. Its weaknesses are going very far into the late game, since it requires a lot of micro, and it struggles to rushes layered with camo leads, but that's a given for pretty much every loadout. Wizards serves an entirely different purpose, one that entertains me greatly whenever someone tries it, and that is rigger farming for Bloon Trap money. It's incredibly risky, since there's going to be a lot of balloons on the screen, and if you miss the Bloon Trap, for instance, they will just run past. But if you want to gain millions in just a couple of seconds, it's a very fun idea. Besides that, Wizard is also an excellent tower with the indiscriminate attack of the Phoenix that is sure to shred CMGs. And then finally, the Ninja Monkey. I don't think there's a whole lot I can say about it, since it's pretty much a topic for a video in its own. It has high DPS, a slowdown, crazy cleanup, which makes it the ideal pairing for the engineer in most situations. And in some competitive forms, it's a bad loadout due to its strength. That's not to say it's a new strategy at all. See Asian Sensations video from 2018 if you would like more in-depth gameplay, or Laser Team's video for a more recent version of the strategy, and of course an engineer video. Bloon Trap 1 at that would be nothing without talking about the placement of the Bloon Trap. However, I want to keep these videos short so they don't drag on for too long, and I have run out of talking material. That's why the other video will have Bloon Trap placement on most, if not every map. These are of course not spots to live and die by, but they are some of the best ones out there, ones I personally use, so they should give a pretty general idea on what good Bloon Trap placement holds. The engineer overall is good, but not overpowered. I know that might seem crazy after what I just said, but I genuinely believe that in a world with Colpi Eco, Sabo powers, that the engineer is fine. In my opinion, it's the towers that you bring with it that really define the strength and playstyle. So don't forget that the overpowered aspect of Ninja Farm Mortar was never just a mortar, or never just a ninja, rather it was the combination of the two towers. And luckily, Engineer only has 3 towers to combine it with. There are a couple of projects that I want to work on, most of which will take a bit more time, but I also have some shorter ones planned as well. School exams are coming up, but I hope no one was expecting me to go for daily or even weekly uploads to begin with, since that's not a thing I'm aiming for nor interested in.